Welcome back to Conversations with
Chris
and Crystal.
And we're continuing our conversation.
Yes, and we hope that you're continuing yours as well. And please let us know below your opinions on some of these things that we talk about. We love to hear from you.
Or anything you'd like us to talk about.
Right.
Well, if we're going to talk about churches,
we certainly can.
I can talk about my experience with the last church that I went to, which is another thing that may or may not make it on our show.
Yes.
But churches have always let me down because they have cliques. Their favorite people always get to do whatever they want.
Yeah.
And if you try to go in there and say, hey, I'd like to volunteer for this, they'll go, oh, here, you go change the diapers in the nursery or something you really don't want to do. And it's like, no.
Yeah.
That
happened to me. Where did that happen to me? Oh, I know where that happened to me. Okay, go ahead. Continue.
It wasn't
at a church. It wasn't at a church. It was when I went, because I have a theatrical background and I wanted to get back into theater, and I called East Valley Children's Theater director, who I knew, and she was gracious enough to meet with me, but not so gracious to put me on the committee to raise funds for. I mean, I would have rather worked backstage with the kids before I would want to go on a funding committee thing. Yeah. And I mean, and I'm a teacher. I can teach that, and it's like, hello.
Yeah.
So I felt really put down by that. I met some wonderful people. I liked, working with them. There were things that we did that were a lot of fun. But I'm out of that now. I need to get back into the theater itself. I need to get back to acting.
Well, that's another thing that bothers me too about these places, and not just churches, but you have your strengths. You know how to do.
Yeah, you have gifts. Yeah,
and they don't want to capitalize on your gifts.
Yeah,
no, they just want to stick you where they want to stick you, and
that
annoys me. It's like, hey, I'm offering to do this because this is what I'm good at. This is what I want to do, and you want me no.
And that's how you know what your gifts are from God, is what you're really good at. I mean, they actually have you take tests for that. They can do that. They can test what your strengths are. And if you're in the ministry of helps, or if you're a prophet, or if you're whatever it is that you're doing, what are you? I mean, like, Jeff's is singing. I mean, they and he doesn't care if he sings or not. He's playing bass too, and nobody really asked him to sing. One of the gals came over to our house, and I showed her some video of him singing, and she went, why is he not singing? And I said, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he sings or not. It's what God wants him to do, and therefore it's up to the church to motivate that.
And that's the other thing, because the Bible doesn't say brag ye on what ye can do.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm not going to go out there and say, this is what
I do.
Yeah. But I did try to get into the drama ministry at this church. I did get into it a little bit, but I wrote this skit about dogs.
I don't. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Discussing where their owners went on Sundays. And because every other sentence didn't mention God or Jesus or something like that, I was told it was inappropriate. And the song leader who ran the drama department said that the dogs should give their testimonies. Dogs don't have testimony.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing. Yeah. But I think what they were trying to, okay, so it's like our Christmas decorations at our church. Somebody donated decorations. Pastor gave them back because she doesn't want the old yellowed. And these were very nice pieces, but there were some in there that she didn't like, and that's the point. That's what I told my friend who had donated them, and then I gave them back to her, and she was angry. She was offended. She said, "I'm never coming back here." And I said, "Look," I said, "if you owned and ran the church like her and her husband do, you would do it your way. There would be things from your past, colors you don't like, stuff you don't like. I mean, it's simple stuff. It's kind of minutia. It's kind of persnickety. It's kind of, downplaying to people, but it's what she wants to do in the end." And that's what I'm hearing here. Somebody doesn't have that taste. Somebody doesn't have that.
It's the song leader, because everything had to have God in every other sentence.
And some of them do that. Yeah.
But the pastor was the one who was ultimately supposed to approve things.
Yeah.
And he liked to make jokes and things.
Yeah.
But yet, if I put some jokes in there, the song leader would say, well, we're not here to entertain people.
Oh, I hope you are.
It's like, well, there's no law against laughter. God created laughter.
Yeah, no, laughter is the best medicine. It tells you that.
And then he came to me like
People are
months
healed through laughter. Yeah.
months after I decided I'm not being involved in and that with the dog skit, that was the final straw for me, because I had gotten people who would not ordinarily participate in the thing. I got them to participate.
Yeah.
And I was gung ho about it, and I had a sign up sheet and everything. And so after this, I was like, okay, I don't want to be part of it anymore.
Yeah.
And he says, "Oh, I didn't mean to offend you." I said, "No."
It's not really offense as much as it is, I don't need the aggravation in my life. I don't need the lack of peace, the derision.
Yeah. So months later, he comes to me and he says, "Did Pastor come to you yet?" And I said, "About what?" And he says, "He wants to make you the head of the drama department." I'm like, "It's too late for that now.
You kind of lost that.
You killed it in me."
Yeah. I mean, at least for that church. Mm-hmm. It's like you put up that wall, and it's hard to get that back after you do that, after you screw it up.
And there's these people. They joined the church the exact day that I joined. And I'm not going to name names, but they know who they are. But the guy, they started having him teach Sunday school.
Oh, that's
and
okay.
He would say these things that I found very offensive and dangerous to say, because it's the same kinds of things that got me to have no self-esteem. Because he said, when I taught high school Sunday school, I used to tell the kids, you're not to ask God for forgiveness for your sins. You have to ask God for forgiveness for who you are. Exactly.
Okay.
I was like,
okay, that's
no.
a little weird. Yeah.
God created you.
Yeah.
As who you are.
Yeah.
But when you sin, you ask for forgiveness.
Right.
And another thing he said was, you only have to ask for forgiveness once. Because if you sin afterwards, then you just acknowledge that you did it. So I said, okay. So I said to my mom, so I'm sorry. I just pushed you.
Yeah.
How is that going to get you any, forgiveness?
Yeah, right. That's weird. That's kind of a weird.
Yeah. And he had a lot of weird beliefs. He believed that angels came down and had sex with women, and that's where the giants came from in the Old Testament. No. Angels cannot have sex, because if they could have sex, they'd still be doing it today.
Yeah.
And Satan could have sex with somebody, and Rosemary's Baby would be a real thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
But that doesn't happen. It says in the Bible, men and women do not marry. Jesus himself said, men and women are not going to marry or be given in marriage in heaven. They will be like the angels, which means sexless.
Yeah.
So that was another thing. And his wife, she would never shut her mouth. Every day he taught something, he'd say, "Oh, is there any questions or anybody have a comment?" She always had a comment. She'd always have to stand up and blah, blah, blah. And one of the things she said, and I wasn't there for this, but my brother told me, that she said, yeah, if people don't believe that angels had sex, then they're just cuckoo.
Yeah, it's so difficult. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody's got a direction. I mean, if you can find it in the Bible, if you can find the verse to back your theory up, that's where your answer comes from. If he had a Bible, that's what you should have, could have said to him, would have been, okay, so where's that in the Bible?
Well, what I did say was, I brought up that verse to him. I said, what about this verse that Jesus said men and women will be like the angels? Yeah. He said, oh, that means we'll be men. We'll all be men.
They're sexless. Yeah, no, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I'm like, no, because God created me a woman. He's not going to all of a sudden change my sex in heaven.
Yeah, no, it just doesn't make any sense. No, but again, if he can back that up through Scripture, then thus be it. But I don't know that that's anywhere in Scripture.
He turned to Job when the sons of God came to God to talk, and Satan was among them.
Okay.
So he's saying that the sons of God there were the angels, and so therefore the sons of God who had married the daughters of men and created the giants, that those were angels.
So where were the giants in the Bible?
I think it was right after the flood, or was it before the flood? I can't.
Is it? I mean, is it? Are they written in there?
Yeah, it says the
Yeah.
sons of God took the daughters of men, and then there were giants in the world.
There's a Bible verse with that in it?
Yeah. And then the other thing that I really enjoyed was when I would take my crochet with me to church
Yeah.
because it helped me concentrate on what was being said because I had something keeping my hands busy.
Uh-huh.
And it kept me from falling asleep. But
Yeah.
Anyway. So one day I was crocheting or whatever, and then we had this time where you get up and you shake hands with people and walk around,
greeting.
right?
Yeah.
So I get back to my chair, and somebody had left this lovely little note that said, "Please leave your yarn at home." It's like,
Nobody cares about your opinion.
well,
I
and,
mean,
and it's not like it was disturbing anybody.
Yeah,
It's
right,
not noisy.
right,
I'm just
right.
sitting there doing my thing, and people around me wouldn't even see it, except maybe people to the side.
Yeah, right,
So
right
what's
there.
the big deal?
yeah, it doesn't matter.
But I do remember
Everybody's different. Why
Yeah.
is that a
and
why is that an issue?
when I was young, I do remember I used to be a little bit judgmental with people too. I'd be like, well, why are they doing that when they're in church? You
Yeah,
know?
no, I've always been a lot of judgmental. I think our whole church was built on judgmental. If they couldn't judge somebody, what good were they? If they couldn't tell people they were wrong,
Yeah.
oh, you're doing the wrong thing. According to the Bible, you're supposed to be doing this. That's a judgment thing.
I never said anything though. When I was a kid, I would just think it. I'd be like, well, why are they doing that when they're
Yeah.
in church?
Yeah.
How disrespectful or whatever.
Yeah.
And now, now the shoe is on the other foot there.
Yeah. Yay. But like they say, judge not lest ye be judged. So it does. It comes back. If you judge, it's going to come back to you. And so, yeah, if they're judging you, it's going to come back to them too. Fourfold, or is it threefold? Because you point a finger at somebody, you have three
pointing
fingers pointing back. Yeah. So it's actually your problem. And that's just the hard part. I know, I think I've mentioned it before. There's this church by us that it's nice to be nice to the nice, and that's all it is. There's no challenge. There's no hey, are you living a righteous life? Are you living what God, are you doing what God wants you to do? That they don't question any of that. It's just, we're going to, hear the nice stories in the Bible, and isn't that great? And how blessed we are. And in fact, they don't even talk about blessings. They just, it's just stories. It's crazy. And one of the gals at our church, I mentioned that to her, and she said, "Oh." She said, "I used to go to that church." And I was like, uh-oh. And she said, "But no. She said, "You're not wrong." She said, there are people at that level in their Christian walk.
That's what
and
they
she said,
need
and
at the
they
time.
need to be, and she goes, "I was the same way until I started to, go up to those other levels with God and started to look into other things and go, wait a minute, it's not here." So I had to go somewhere else to find it. And that's kind of where I was at. I went a long time not going to a church because I couldn't find it. And then finally did.
Well, in this church that I was talking about, that's the other thing. Almost nobody ever went forward on the Sundays.
Yeah.
It's like it became a stagnant church.
Yes,
And then when people
yes.
would leave, the pastor would always be like, I just figure if people are going to leave, they're going to leave. And,
Yes,
sometimes you
yes.
might want to figure out why.
Yeah, you might
people
want
are
to
leaving.
ask. You might want to check into it.
When my brother left, he made this big to-do about, why is he leaving? What's happening? What's this, that, and the other? And my brother, he actually hung up on him at one time because he wasn't listening to what my brother was saying.
Yeah.
And when my mom and I left, he didn't say a word about me. He never, that's the other thing. He like hardly ever acknowledged my presence. And, it's like you could, what? I would be so shocked if he ever said hello to me.
Smaller church, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is it about me that he just, will not acknowledge?
Well, and that's where a lot of personal issues come in. That's where I'm trying to get away from that. I'm trying to get into God's love toward everyone, which
Yeah.
is hard to do when you've never had it. I mean,
Yeah.
I have God's love, but I still don't know what it walks like, talks like, thinks
Like brotherly love.
Yeah, I don't get real true. I think there's a truth to love that is just inalienable. I mean, it just is. It is pure. It is perfect, and I want to experience that. for other people. I know my brother always prayed for himself that God would give him the ability to love others. And, he was constantly praying that. I always heard that from him. Help me to have love for others. Help me to show love for others.
Yeah, but you're a very empathetic person.
I
so-
am empathetic, but that's kind of a direction. It's like, oh, I can understand how you feel. It's almost like here's A, B, C, and D. So okay, I understand how you feel. And I can relate, and I can, be there for you and that kind of thing. But there's a love that just permeates everything. I don't even know if I can imagine it. I don't know if I can even look at the movies that depict Jesus with the compassion that I can't imagine the overwhelming compassion he must have had. I mean, these are actors who are human, trying to relay compassion to others. And there's such if you think about all the different people who have played Jesus, there's many different directions that they've taken. They don't all come off the same.
True.
They really don't, because we're so human and we're trying to interpret this unbelievable amount of compassion and love for people, just overwhelming, just.
The thing that always
And
gets
forgiveness.
me is the people who spit on him and pulled out his beard and crammed that crown of thorns on him, and for him to just feel nothing but love and probably
Yep.
even sadness towards them.
Yes.
To me, I'd be angry.
Yeah. No, he was human, and that's the issue. It's they look at that and they go, he was a human guy that, body and, soul and mind, and, with the Spirit of God, and, he experienced everything that we experienced, but then there was this compassion, there was this love, it's just an overwhelming amount of love. Can anybody, as soon as I find the formula, I'll let you know, because there's got to be a way.
Well, we can never on this earth experience or feel or know exactly how he felt. I was talking to my mom about that the other day.
I agree
too,
with that, yeah.
because it's like to come from, it was you I was talking to.
Okay.
To come from there,
Yeah.
with all the splendor
Yes,
and wonder
yeah.
of heaven,
Yeah.
and cram yourself into this form.
Yeah.
Willingly. I mean, that's true.
That's a
love,
great sacrifice. Yeah, that is a great sacrifice.
But,
So yeah, you're right. That would make sense. How would we truly know?
yeah.
But I have had God rain love down on me.
Yeah.
And I have felt it, and it is so. You're right. It is so overwhelming that you couldn't even function. It's so much, and you just paralyzes you, and there's nowhere you go, because part of it is nobody's ever going to understand it.
Yeah.
Anybody you talk to or try to relay that kind of love to them, they're not going to get it. They can't even receive it. Yeah.
It's funny too, because
Too much.
when I was younger, I used to wonder, how can God love us when we do so many stupid and horrible things? And my mom helped me out with that one, because she says, well, it's like your cats. How many times do they throw up on the floor and you step in it or whatever?
Yeah.
Do you still love them?
Yep.
I was like, that's true. So
Yeah. No, well, Jeff says, he's up there going like this. Oh my gosh. Okay. There they go again. They're doing it again. Yeah.
But,
So, we definitely make mistakes. There's no doubt about that.
and then there's people who say, well, God isn't so wonderful if he can allow children to die and all this stuff, and this, that, and the other. And it's like, but see, God created a perfect world and we screwed it up. So we have to live with the consequences of that screw up. Mm-hmm. And another thing is, some people say, oh, we're not all God's children. Only Christians are God's children. But no.
I do believe that. I do
Well,
believe as far
in a
as
way.
how the Bible refers to it. Yes.
But he did create all of us.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
We are all his creation.
Yes.
So, I get, we're God's children because we accepted him.
We made that decision, yeah.
But another thing people, it occurred to me, and it was an epiphany one day. I was like, these people who say, oh, why would God destroy this, that, and the other? And it's like, because have you ever made something that you didn't like anymore and you've thrown it away, right?
Yeah.
God made everything here. So if he doesn't like it anymore, and
take it out.
yeah, and it's like, thinking with the human brain, it's like, oh, how cruel, but you can't think with the human brain.
You can't. You can't really know.
Yeah, God, yeah. It's so
that might be it. That might be an answer for it, that you can't even conceive of God's love, because it says in the Bible that if our minds were open to everything in heaven and everything that God knows, we would explode because of our body.
Look at Moses. God couldn't even show him his face, or Moses would have died.
Right on the spot.
Just showing him the backside of him had his face glowing and his hair turned white. I mean, you know.
Yep.
So it's a powerful.
So maybe we can't really know that kind of love
until we get there.
Are we able to even conceive of God's love? Like you said, I had that taste of it, and it was so overwhelming it paralyzed me to the good. But then what?
Well, this one says, "Hereby we perceive the love of God, because He laid down His life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren." God is greater than our heart and knoweth all things.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, that people can't see your heart. Yeah. They God knows the heart, and that's why it always gets to me when people, oh no, they committed suicide, they're going to go to hell, but God knew the heart.
Well,
and if they were suffering from a disease or depression or anything that caused them to go that direction, I know it says, if you take your life, I mean, because there are people who would say, I'm going to take my life and that's it.
That was something that I always thought it was a Catholic notion, that if you
I think it is. I think you're right. But they have other books in their Bible that we don't.
I tried to kill myself twice, and I never once thought I would go to hell if I did that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, but I think when people suffer from depression, that's what a doctor told me anyway. He says, you have the two voices. You have the one that says, I want to kill myself. And you have the other one that jumps in and says, oh, no, let's not be talking that way. Let's get rid of that thought. And eventually that voice stops. Mm-hmm. And he says, and the other one will take over. And then he said 98% of the time they never knew what hit them.
Well, that's just it too, because when you are in that frame of mind,
I know, it's so dark.
You are literally not in your right mind.
Yeah.
And so, people are like, well, if I could only have done something to stop it. Well, you can't, because if a person wants to kill themselves, they're going to kill themselves.
Yeah.
And the times I tried, I didn't leave a note.
Yeah.
I was just like, I can't face another day like this. And I'd rather just be in heaven with the Lord,
Yeah.
But of course the Lord is like, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'm not done with you on this earth yet.
You're staying, yeah.
I still laugh about it, because my first attempt, I went through all this stuff in my head, like, what would be the least painful and most effective way? So I'm like, okay, I never thought I would cut my wrists.
Yeah.
I always thought, sleeping pills, but then what if you don't take enough?
Yeah, and there you go. Or something goes wrong,
So I'm like, with the knife, ow, ow, ow. I'm such a failure, I can't even kill myself, I'm such a loser. But yeah, it's fun to laugh about it now. But.
No, it is. It can be. I never attempted. Mine was happening. It was almost like my brain wanted to do a science project. Let's see how far you could get if you closed your eyes while you were driving on the freeway.
Ooh.
And the other voice would jump in and say, "Excuse you? What? I'm sorry. What was that question that was just asked?"
Yeah, I think everybody, depressed or not, sometimes has that little demon that says.
Yeah, it is a little. Well, it was. The way he described it. It was. He said, because I love that. I don't love it. You have that saying, "Pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and start all over again." Mm-hmm. That was my mistake. I had done that after breaking up with who would eventually become my husband. Breaking up with him again, and I just forged ahead. And I went to the doctor and I said, now, why am I having these thoughts when I'm perfectly fine? And I had a new job, I had a new car, I had a new apartment. It was wonderful. Everything was great.
Except that's a lot of stressors.
Well, he said what happens is, he said, you didn't deal with the problem. You didn't deal with letting go of him. And he said, and it becomes a dark part in your brain, and it's in the back, but it comes forward in that voice that says, let's get rid of you.
Or what if I do this?
Yeah, let's see the negative. And then you have the other voice. And he said eventually what happens is that other voice will get clouded out by the black. And that's what ended up happening. I ended up blacking out. And when I came to, I had knives in my hands and I couldn't figure out why they were there.
Ooh, that's creepy.
Yeah, I was like, why do I have these knives? I'm not doing anything with knives. And so I went to him and I said, what is going on with me? And he said, you're not dealing with the problem. He says, you need to go get help. You need to go to a counselor. And he gave me antidepressants to take for a while I was going to counseling to keep me even so that these voices would stop. And then, then I did. I dealt with it and then it went away.
You know what? That's another thing that always bothered me when I had the depression and I was on antidepressants. I was with this guy who said, oh, you need to get off of those. Everybody always says that when somebody's on antidepressants. Oh, you need to get off of those. First off, he would say, oh, you don't have any emotions. It's like, that was not true. I still was happy. I still was sad. I just wasn't trying to kill myself.
Right.
But this is what bothers me about it, is people trying to get people off of antidepressants. It's like, would you tell somebody with a heart condition not to take their heart medication? Are you trying to kill this person? I mean, if a person is on these drugs, they need them. So, I eventually did get off of them through God's help. He cured me of the depression.
Yeah.
But I mean, I would not tell anybody, get off your drugs. You don't need them unless, they take the steps.
They talked about that at church too, that, if you have medication, just stay on your medication. That's helping you to get to your healing.
Yes.
And you continue to, until it manifests and the doctor says to you, oh, in fact, I thought it was amazing. Jeff has AFib. He's taking a pill a day. The doctor, just out of the blue, recently said, oh, well, go to half a pill a day. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what does that mean? And then I thought, well, that's because it's healing. There's healing happening. There's something happening.
That's how I got off of mine, because I went down, because if you're at a certain dosage and it's not working, you raise it. Mm-hmm. Same thing the other way. If you're at a certain dosage and you're like, let me try lowering it and see what happens. Yeah. So that's how I did it. And I kept lowering it until, it was time.
So I don't know how it corrects the heart rate, because that's what the pill does. But I think God's correcting the heart rate. It's coming. Yeah, it's changing. So that's what I'm believing for, that it'll heal. And the pills helped it to, gain its momentum and figure it out and put it together and strengthen.
Yeah, and like you've said before, God, when Jesus was down here, he healed everyone who asked, and even some people who didn't ask but just had in faith touched him.
Well, actually, I think God pointed out to him go to that person over there and talk to them. Okay.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's not like he said, no, I shall not heal you.
Yeah, you have to wait 6 months. You have to learn a lesson before I can heal you. They never did that. Yeah, well, my biggest thing is the fact that everybody accepts the fact, or at least people that I know accept the fact that, well, you get older, you're going to have old age diseases. Yeah. You're going to have diabetes. You're going to have obesity. You're going to have high blood pressure. Yeah, you're going to do all of this, and you're going to be on all this medication, and that's just reality. And it's like, well, people who say that are religious. They are not Christian. I mean, they may be Christians, but they've missed the boat because that boat, is sailing, and it is healing is meant for everybody. It is there available for everybody in every capacity. Now that I think about that, I mean, when I was first, working on losing weight, and Way Down Workshop and we've talked about Way Down Workshop, was the first time that I ever heard anybody say God cares about your weight. It's your problem, right? I think that's what people think about diabetes. Oh, it's my problem, so now I'm diabetic.
Yeah, because you think God has more important things to worry about than that.
Yeah, you don't think.
And it even says in the Bible, he knows the very numbers of hairs on your head. So if I pulled this hair out, oh, there goes number 580.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
whatever,
that's it. And so, that was my first experience in, wow, yeah, I guess he would. And like one girlfriend said, she said, well, I kind of liken it as to, God, am I truly hungry? You tell me.
Yeah, that's
and you talk to him about it, and you put it in his lap, and you say, I feel like I want to eat. Is it head hunger or is it true hunger? What is it? Or stomach hunger? What is it? What is it? And he'll tell you. And she said, I kind of see him pointing at my stomach, like, yes, you should eat now. And so she would eat then, and that's how that worked. And that got me hearing more and more and more of God's voice, because obviously if you eat a lot, you're talking a lot to God. You're going, am I hungry? Am I truly hungry? Do I know what that is? Yeah. It's interesting, and that gets you on the cycle to learn how to listen and hear.
And that's the way to peace in your life too, is by giving it all to the Lord, talking to the Lord. Otherwise, if you're trying to carry those burdens all by yourself, you're not going to have peace.
No, you're not. And that's the other thing too. Oh God, thank you for saying that. That's a revelation, because anytime. Thank you. Well, no, I'm looking at one of the gals at church that is so frustrated and so depressed and going up and down all the time, who graduated from Bible college. And I'm like, how can you graduate from a Bible college and not have some semblance of order in your life, or understand the concept of peace? And she keeps reiterating and going over it. And I'm like, at some point you got to stop. This doesn't have to keep doing this, because he already did it. So it's okay. He already did it.
Yeah, it's done.
It's done. It may not have manifested, but to keep,
that's one thing.
Just ripping herself apart.
That's something I've never understood either, is people who pray over and over and over and over and over again the same thing, because it's like, if you pray it once, he's heard you.
Yeah, he heard you. Yeah.
And do you have to nag God?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I know it says to pray without ceasing, but that doesn't mean that's prayer.
It's not prayer about the same thing.
Yes, it's not. Yeah.
Well,
in fact, they say don't do what the Pharisees did, which was to have these big
Constant
fancy
repetition.
prayers and constant repetition. Yeah.
Although that is one thing, every day, but then it's a new day every day.
Yeah.
So, because every day I thank the Lord for the day.
Yeah. Yes.
And I pray that people who enter and leave my classroom will be blessed. So basically, it's like, since it's a new day, it's a new blessing, right?
Right.
It's not like I'm...
True. Yeah, you're saying the same thing. Yeah, Jeff and I say the same things too. Because part of it is too, I think, the repetition of like affirmation in your life. Is so your brain and your soul can hear it. The soul person, not the spirit, but the soul, because it's very earthly and it's very carnal, and in order to change that, it has to hear it over and over and over again. That you want blessing in your life, because that's what they say, that the universe will come and help you get something, which is, I believe that to be God, comes to help you get something because you've already said you have it. And you do. You have salvation, you have healing, you have all these things. And that's when you say that, the subconscious mind goes, oh, she already has that. Well, then we better go make sure we have that taken care of.
Yeah.
And then you're healed. Or you, like if you didn't have any furniture and you're sitting on boxes pretending the imagination of furniture, the brain goes, oh, she has a sofa. Well, we better get her one of those, because we got this worked out.
And then you start seeing sofas for sale everywhere, very cheap.
Yes.
You find the one that's perfect for you.
Yes. And or they'll bring the one that's perfect for you right there.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, okay.
Or
that
free,
is the one. That is the one.
I was thinking of you the other day, and I thought, so-and-so needs this sofa, so here you go.
Yes. Now, okay, so now put that into context. There was a girlfriend of mine at church that we worked in the coffee shop kitchen area together. And one day she's just talking away, and all of us are running around doing our thing. And she said, well, we've been without water at home for a month. And she goes, and I have been praying that God would send somebody, there'd be a knock at the door, and they would say, I'm here to pay your water bill. So she didn't tell anybody. And so one of the gals that was working back there turns around, she goes, why didn't you say something? Because people would have helped. And so that, I'm wondering about that. Where does that come in? I don't know. I'm sure there's other people. Many people I should ask, what their opinion of it is. But she prayed, and she just fervently believed that God would send a miracle. Now, there's two things. Okay, you can live in the blessing or miracle to miracle. So you live in the blessing, believing what you believe, and you're always taken care of. You're living in peace. You're happy. Things happen, but you continue to roll along. Or you live miracle to miracle, which is, now I've got myself in this mess because I didn't stay in the blessing of God.
Did she have a job?
Job?
Like, did she make money somehow?
What am I talking about?
The lady with the water problem.
She had a job. Yeah, I don't know exactly what happened. She may not have had a job at that time. I know her husband had times when he didn't have work. They had children, and they had no water.
Because I guess to me, it's like, yes, you pray and ask the Lord for help, but are you really recognizing how He's trying to help you? Like, did someone offer them a job that would have given them the money?
Good point.
You know?
Good point. Yeah, no, I didn't hear that. It's kind of like Joyce Meyer when they didn't have a lot of money and she needed dish towels, and somebody came and knocked at the door and said, "God told me to give these to you." That's what she was looking for. And
that can happen. Like my friend Marilyn, her parents were missionaries to Australia in the outback where there was nothing.
Yeah.
And their Jeep needed tires. And so the mom prayed for tires, and someone sent a check to them that they got that week that said, "I just had this feeling that you need tires."
Yeah.
So
there are, but you're right.
happen, but-
I think you're right. There are other things to be heard.
Yeah, He doesn't always answer the prayers in the way that
People
you
don't
want
always knock on
them
the
to.
door. Yeah.
Did none of Joyce Myers expect someone to knock at the door?
No,
See?
not at all.
See,
Yeah,
and this
no,
gal
she just
was
said, "I need
expecting-
dish towels." Yeah,
She was expecting someone to knock at the door.
Maybe that was it. It would have
Yeah.
been better to, because
just-
that's what I've said about
Yeah.
people who are mean to me. I will say, "Lord, help me to get along with them," and then they disappear.
Yeah, He just removed it.
Yeah. Jeff is telling me, "Let me know if you have any problems with me before you pray that prayer," because they do. They just quit at the jobs that I've been at, and they leave. And I thought that was weird. I mean, because I'm not saying, "Lord, take them out of my life." I'm saying, help me to deal with them. So I think you're right. I like that part of it, that, Lord, I need my water. We need water. I need a water bill paid. Please tell me what to do, or how to do this, or Lord, I'm just going to give it to you, and do what you will. And I guess you're kind of right that you can't tell God what to do, because you might miss it. You might miss the sign.
because you're looking for this over here, and it's coming over this way.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's good. So if you remain open, well, what is it they say too? To remain curious. Don't say, "I know that I know that I know I already know that." No, I wonder what will happen.
Yeah.
I wonder what God will do.
And you can know. I mean, you can know the problem is going to be solved. But
Yes,
remain
absolutely.
open
You
to
have that
how.
peace. Yeah.
How the Lord is going to
Yeah, you can't decide how it's going to be. Yeah, that's it exactly. I know. I had a pastor too that his mom was a single mom, and he said she was amazing. She would just take their hands and she'd say, "Set the table." They didn't have any food, and she'd say, "Set the table," and she would pray that God would send food. And then, yes, there was a knock at the door, and the neighbors came with extra food that they had made more than they needed. And God does, that's the other thing too. God does talk to people. And okay, so maybe there's somebody that doesn't heed it or doesn't obey it.
True.
There will come another one. He will move on to the next person. Then he's looking for the people who hear His voice and will obey. And that goes for all of us. That's a big thing. That's what we're talking about with my rooms. This I know, I forgot about this. I was at church, and we have 2 days a week. We have something called the furnace, and you sit for an hour. They lower the lights, and they have beautiful music playing, and you talk to God for an hour. And my girlfriend said to me afterwards, she said, "Oh, what did you hear from God today?" And I said, "Well, I have these 2 rooms at home that are totally cluttered." And she said, No. She said, "What did you hear from God today?" And I said, "That's what I heard from God today." He said, get your house in order. Those 2 rooms need to be cleaned up." Because I literally have just been piling up stuff, after the Christmas play. I couldn't get through my returns fast enough. I will have to show you that pile of stuff that's being returned now. And it's actually happening pretty quickly that I'm, I got all that together, and there's still some laying on the floor that has to be put together. But I thought, I feel so much better, and I have so much work to do right now in the church. And they talk about this online, that when clutter is around you anywhere, too many books, too much trash, too much of
Yeah,
something.
it's hard to hear.
It is hard to hear, and it's hard to work on your stuff that you need to work on, because you've got this all is in the back of your mind. What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this? In fact, or you have your husband who says, "What are you going to do about this? What are you going to do about this?" Because he does. He sees it. He tries to leave me alone with stuff. He sees the piles, and he thinks, "Okay, not going to go there. Not even going to talk to her." But every once in a while, he'll say, "So, are we ever going to use that anymore? Are we ever going to do anything?" I'm like, "Leave me alone." But God is saying the same thing. And a lot of times our husbands are, put in that position to speak that to us. They should be God to us. They should be listening to God and hearing from God and sharing that with you. I choose not to listen, but I do know that he does.
I choose not to have a husband.
I know. Oh, that took care of that problem. But yeah, that's the point with my husband, is the few times that he does speak, because it's not his forte. It usually is very poignant. Is that, how can I pronounce that right?
To the point.
Poignant.
Yeah, poignant usually means like sad.
No. Look it up. Now I'm confused.
Okay. Deep emotion, especially pity or sorrow.
Touching, synonym, moving. Well, moving, I guess, is the one I'm looking for. The moving of it, that it's very, his is very to the point, and it's from God. It's very significant when he does speak, because it's very seldom that he ever says anything. And when he does, it's like, hello, God is speaking.
Oh, by the way, I was thinking too, that lady with the water problem, did she ever call the water company and ask?
I have no idea.
That's the
I don't
other thing,
remember.
'cause
It's been so long
maybe,
ago. Yeah.
Maybe she was supposed to do that.
Yeah, and find out if they could help her. Yeah, I don't know. I would think she would have, but I don't know. It was just so significant that she sat on it for a month without even telling any of us. And that's what the gal at church was like, that's what we're here for. We're here to help.
Yeah.
And if you don't tell us,
How are we going to know?
well, she was expecting God to tell us.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think when you're in a church and you're in those settings and you're in that situation, I think, what is it? There's a verse on that too. Well, bear ye one another's burdens.
Yeah.
And in that particular instance, they are telling people what is wrong, and then therefore somebody can help fix it. If they don't know, they don't know.
Yeah.
They don't hear it or whatever. And then yes, there are times, like you said, like I said, living miracle to miracle. Yes, there are times when God will, pull a miracle. But then there are times when, well, like they say, that this is saying, it's not in the Bible, but do your best and God does the rest. So what's your best?
Yeah.
What is your best? That's where I kind of ride from, is how much of your best are you doing, and then God does the rest. Because you do have to have some responsibility in there. You do have to have some, thing going on there.
Yeah.
You have there's you can't just sit there and say, "Okay, God,
Bring it all to me.
here it comes."
Yeah.
I'm waiting for it. We'd die. I mean, we wouldn't be eating. We wouldn't be, what would we do?
Of course, if we didn't eat, then maybe we'd lose the weight we want to
There
lose.
you go. That would work. We just sit there. Okay, God, just do it. Whatever it is, just do it.
Yeah.
Well, like they say too, you're studying the Bible, you're reading the Bible, because that's where you hear from God as well. He speaks through His Word, and that does not go void. Where a lot of the stuff that we talk about goes void. It goes out and the universe comes back and hits us in the face, and God's doesn't do that.
Unless we need him to hit us in the face.
That's a whole nother issue. Yeah, that is very true.
So thanks again for watching, and remember,
Take care of yourself, because nobody else will.
We'll see you next time.
Okay, bye.